time. It's time. It's time. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy. Yeah. 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 It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time.
How the fuck you got me up this damn early, Jason?
It's time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Commissioner Cooper, and you are waking up with TSS Fantasy.
Good morning. I'm not going to blast you out of bed this morning.
Yes, we all appreciate the toned down excitement this morning, Nick. We appreciate you. All right, well, we appreciate you waking up with us. Let's get our introduction started. Welcome to the studio. Nick, you got Flandered Macaronis.
Yes, hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for waking up with us this morning. You can find me on Twitter at Penn Flanders and at You Got Flanders. You can also find my wonderful array of wonderful merchandise on tssfantasy.com. Just click on the link, scroll down to merchandise, click on the link, and you'll find a lovely array of T-shirts, tank tops, long sleeves. We also have water bottles. It's a wonderful display of a perfect gift idea for you and yours for this holiday season. Go out, pick up one, pick up two, pick up three. What the hell? Do it. Okay, and you can wear us proudly, and it's a wonderful conversation piece.
Nick has got his coffee already this morning, got his game on. Let's get it going. I appreciate that. All right, Dr. Miller, welcome to the studio. To you, sir.
Good morning. Good to be here with you guys. Coming up today on the house call, like every other week, we're going to quote Coach Pete Carroll.
He's always got some good ones, doesn't he? We appreciate Mr. Pete. All right. Don't forget, we're the fantasy show of the people. So visit us, tssfantasy.com. All of our current rankings, and yes, I updated them. I even took out the Thursday night game. So they're all currently updated, ready to go for this Sunday. So you can go there, check it out. We got all our old shows on there as well, so you can check those out. And again, as Nick alluded to earlier, the wonderful store that we have. Also, a link for Belly Up Sports Podcast. Those are all of our great podcasts in our network, from racing to wrestling. Everything you want, we got it for you. So check everyone out. We enjoy and everyone on the network, and we like to have them on. We'll have some on actually this Tuesday. I forgot to plug that earlier. The Pesky Report will be facing Rockin' the Jake in Champs versus Chumps. So make sure you tune in Tuesday for that. Also, don't forget Unhinged Radio. That's a 24/7 sports radio network. So everything's on there. All the great Belly Up Sports podcasts. We're on from 8 to 9 a.m. like we are right now. Make us part of your morning commute. We are the fantasy show of the people. Really quick, just to plug it real quick, we are part of Wake Up, Belly Up with their Sunday lineup. We'll break it out for you here. We're on right now, as you can see. Don't forget, afterwards, 9 to 10 a.m., the Bears pregame with Coach Steve, 10 and 11, 4th and 4, 11 to 12, the Rough Cut, and 12 to 1, Dan Mater's got your final fantasy lineup questions. So don't forget, keep it locked in here for your Sunday lineup. All right. Let's get things started with Dr. Miller's house call.
All right, let's start with your team, Commissioner. The Dolphins are now on a winning streak. Whew. 2 games. So this past Thursday was interesting, right? Tua wasn't scheduled to start. Had a fracture in his middle finger on his throwing hand, no less. And
yeah, it was
Jacoby Brissett. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to get your take on this, and I know I asked you to bring this up because it was just interesting to me. You know, here we are going into this game thinking, all right, we're not going to have Tua. And then, Jacoby goes down. Then it's like, okay, well, Tua's the backup. He came in. He looked like he didn't, miss a beat. I don't know what he was hurt. What are we talking about here? So anyway, my back. Go ahead.
Fracturing his third middle finger on his throwing hand and third middle finger, I guess. This is the Department of Redundancy department. Third middle finger, same thing. But came in, and even after Jacoby Brissett was cleared to return, Tua stayed in and led the team to an upset win over the Ravens, which again gives them a winning streak.
Oof. Yes, that does feel good. I definitely was. It felt nice to talk about the Dolphins for once. I feel like I earned a little respect the other night, so appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's move to the Seahawks, and we'll talk about Russell Wilson a little bit. So respect for this guy, again, coming back something like 37 days or something crazy short after his mallet finger repair. But essentially, the Seahawks really need him to return if they have any hope to make the playoffs. Since he went out, they've lost 3 or 4 games without him. So their entire season really does hinge on the next couple of games. So his return is big for the organization. But I want to quote Russell Wilson a little bit here because this guy is just an impressive character. He said, "I think adversity brings out the best in you. And for me, I definitely went through some adverse times with the hand." He went on to say he's not 100%, but he's in the 90 percentile, if not higher. I feel great. I have great conviction about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. My mindset is better than ever. I'm ready to go. So I'm really encouraged. Again, on the Tuesday show, we quoted Dr. Shin, the hand surgeon who took care of his repair, and he cleared him without reservation. So it sounds like the surgeon feels good about this. Wilson feels good about this. I'm excited.
Yeah, so the reason I want to bring both of those guys up in particular is that I know it's not the same type of injury, but I just found it interesting that Tua seemed to have no trouble with the grip. It's interesting to me. I know it's the same type of injury, but to see Russell Wilson come back, if Tua came in not missing a beat like that, I mean, if Russell's back, he should be back fully good to go. So I'm waiting to see how he looks tonight.
So let's do a couple of guys who were out, and please interrupt me if there's anybody you'd like more elaboration on. But the following list of players all out for today. We've got Alvin Kamara. He missed all week with a knee sprain sustained last Sunday in the loss to the Falcons. So Kamara's out. Antonio Brown of the Bucs. We initially expected to see him this weekend. And in fact, on the midweek show, I thought he was going to go. But the ankle injury he sustained during week 6 is continuing to limit him. So Antonio Brown also out.
Yeah, that's big for Mike Evans owners because right now Chris Godwin being a game time decision right now. Could be a huge Mike Evans game, especially against the FT defense for sure. And real quick on the Alvin Kamara thing, Mark Ingram stepping into the fold as the number 1 RB this week. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Trevor Siemian kind of limited in what he can do. It'll be interesting to see what the Saints offense can bring up. All right, Doc, my bad. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So Julio Jones spent a lot of time early in the season, preseason, talking about him. His career did not resurrect in Tennessee. He's now been placed on the IR after re-aggravating his hamstring again. I don't know how many games he's missed this season. I lost track, but he missed practice Friday. Again, he's been put on the IR. So this hamstring injury is going to keep him out until at least week 13. And
Nick brought it up.
Expect him back?
Nick brought it up in our group text that the Jester was spot on with Julio Jones. He was dogging him all off season, and he proved himself correct.
Amazingly enough, he did. Yes.
That may be the one thing he's got right so far. All right, who else we got, Doc?
So Chris Carson. He was a preseason, speaking of the offseason, Chris Carson was a preseason 80% of the bench guy. And, I wish you'd stop putting him on my list to talk about every week. I don't know what to say about this guy anymore. Right? So I'm going to quote Coach Pete Carroll here. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, seriously, what are you going to say at this point? What do you guys say at this point?
Listen, that's probably the best medical advice I've heard yet. So, who else we got, Doc?
So we're going to start our percent of the bench segment with a 100% of the bench guy, We'll start in New England. We'll talk about their backfield. Damian Harris is still within the concussion protocol, so he officially is a 100% to the bench player for today. He's been ruled out. However, partnering in the backfield with him, Ramondre Stevenson just cleared the concussion protocol yesterday, as far as I'm aware. Especially given Harris being out, I do expect Stevenson to play. We'll go 10% to the bench for him.
All right, yeah, big. And Brandon Bolden owners, obviously, if you scooped him up, it'll be interesting to see how much, since he is injured with the concussion, how much he's used. But I would definitely make a play for Brandon Bolden today. All right, who else we got, Doc?
So Kyler Murray didn't practice this week again, medial ankle sprain. We've talked about this a number of times. And I've gone back and forth on this a few times. So initially, earlier in the week, I thought he's not going to go unless Colt McCoy goes down, right? And this would be like Tua sitting on the sideline waiting for Brisket. Excuse me.
It's Brissett. You got it.
I got a pork shoulder on the smoker today all day. And, I guess the parallel to the brisket from 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so my first thought was we're not going to see him unless McCoy goes down. But if Kyler Murray's ready to go, do you really sit him behind McCoy? So I've gone from 10% to 90% back and forth on his percent of the bench. It depends what minute you ask. So let's go 50. We'll split the difference.
I think you're right, but in the sense of you're also playing a Panthers team who's also coming in without their starting quarterback. So maybe they do decide to go ahead. I think overall Arizona is the better team. So maybe that's what they decide. Maybe give Kyler one more week. So we'll see. All right, who else we got? 50-50.
So DeAndre Hopkins did not practice this week, and he's being described as a true game time decision. That being the case, we're going to go 85% of the bench because, to quote the commissioner, Friday's a great indicator of what's going to happen on Sunday.
Yeah, agreed. I don't see DeAndre going this week. All right, who else we got?
Yeah, Rondell Moore has yet to clear the concussion protocol. So barring something unexpected happening in the next couple of minutes or hours, he's probably 90% of the bench. Don't necessarily expect to see Moore clear it today.
So Christian Kirk owners, get excited. You also have AJ Green returning. So again, be excited for your day, though. Christian Kirk owners should have lots of targets coming your way. Who else we got?
So James Robinson, this is a weird injury, man. So he's got a heel bruise, not a bone bruise, but a heel bruise. Urban Meyer said he's got a, quote, good chance of suiting up, despite having the official questionable label. So we're going to give James Robinson a 25% of the bench, but it gets an asterisk because this is just weird. There's something they're not telling us.
Yeah, you talked about that before, that, if it was, I think it was that day, that first week that he was hurt, that if it was hurt a deep bone bruise, I think maybe that's where we were. It was just never came out. That's what I'm thinking. All right, who else we got?
I think you're giving better medical advice than the NFL is giving. I suspect you're right, even though we didn't hear it was a bone bruise. That's certainly indicated by the length of time he's been out.
Well, I've been taught by the best, so what do you want?
Appreciate that. So
suck it up now.
Let's go to Buffalo. Zach Moss cleared the concussion protocol. I think this just happened middle of Saturday. So expect him to play. He's going to be a low percent of the bench. We're going to call him 25% of the bench. But if I had to say yes or no, he's going to go today.
Yeah, that's big, actually. Jets D, not very good against the rush, so I definitely would make a big start. I believe the Ryan, the safe pick, brought that up last night. He liked him as a starter. All right, who else we got?
Last guy in the house call, Chris Goodwin, Bucs wide receiver, managing a foot injury. So he had some limited practice time on Friday. Coach Arian said he's a game time decision, but as of Saturday afternoon, the Athletics' Greg Auman reported that he was going to play. And I suspect that given that AB's out, given that Gronk is out, there's a good chance he's going to go. So we'll say 10% to the bench for Godwin.
Yeah, so we got Godwin, and, I talked about Mike Evans earlier, depending on if Godwin goes or not. Either way, FT is a juicy matchup either way, so it's going to be a good day for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin if they both decide to go. Nick also mentioned Keenan Allen on the injury report with, I think it was a knee or something that popped up. Looked like he was questionable. He did put in practice, though, so I did read in the report he should be good to go today as well. It was something that was kind of thrown in there last minute, but appreciate you, Nick. All right, so, Doc, we appreciate you. You check out Dr. Miller on Tuesday night. We'll be doing the house call then again. Until then, we appreciate you, my brother.
Take care, gentlemen.
Enjoy your Sunday, and hopefully we'll see you on another victory next week from Mr. Tua.
Thanks, Doc.
3-game winning.
Hey guys, it's Mitch Lopez, your local Farmers Insurance agent. As hurricane season approaches, is your homeowner's insurance going to make the cut? Are they charging you more for your renewal, or even worse, canceling you? If so, I think it's time to put your insurance company on the bench and make Mitch Lopez Farmers Insurance your number one pick for all of your insurance needs. You can reach me at 407-603-7366, or you can follow me on Facebook at Farmers Insurance, Mitch Lopez, IG, Mitch Lopez _ Farmers Agency, or you can check my website at Farmers Insurance Mitchell Lopez Jr.
All righty, let's start our Sunday morning weather report.
It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day.
All righty, so we'll start in Dallas. Atlanta at Dallas, 62 degrees and clear. Winds are only 5 miles an hour, so not a big deal, looks like in Dallas as far as weather is concerned. In Tennessee, you got New Orleans at Tennessee, 49 degrees, partly cloudy, winds 12 miles an hour, so a little chilly in the mountains and 12-mile-an-hour winds, so might want to take note of that. I know Ryan brought up last night 15 mile an hour is when really start to affect kickers in the passing game. I mean, 12 mile an hour is pretty close, so you're getting kind of up there. And, you know, you got the limit. Again, we talked about Trevor Siemian. We'll get into that game later as we talk along. But, again, all right, Jacksonville at Indianapolis. It's in a dome. Who cares? Cleveland at New England, 48 degrees and partly cloudy, 7-mile-an-hour winds. Not a big deal there. Buffalo at Jets. So we'll look at that, 46 degrees. Look at that, it's almost the same weather. That's strange. Mostly cloudy, 6-mile-an-hour winds. Detroit at Pittsburgh. Now we're getting chilly, 35 degrees and overcast, kind of a Pittsburgh-sounding day. Winds 8 mile an hour. So again, you know, we're getting to where the weather is starting to change, although again, this week hasn't really, not really too much of an effect so far, as it looks like. Tampa Bay at Washington. This is 46 degrees. Again, overcast, winds at 6 mile an hour. So again, you know, looks like it's just going to be an overcast but chilly day in Washington. The next one we got is Carolina at Arizona in a dome. Who cares? Minnesota at LA in a dome. Who cares? Philly at Denver. So this is 67 actually, which is
They're
kind of
having a heat wave in Denver.
yeah, it's like surprise. I'm like all these cold weather and all Denver is like it's almost we're here in Florida. Partly cloudy, 10 mile an hour winds in this one. So that's interesting to see there. Seattle at Green Bay. We're getting 38 degrees. It's overcast. Ryan mentioned it last night, but it's 14 mile an hour winds there. So could affect the passing game. But although these quarterbacks, they play in the elements for quite a while, I think they kind of know what's up. But interesting to note nonetheless. KC at the Raiders. That's in the dome, so we don't care. And then Monday night, the Rams visit the 49ers, 65 degrees and overcast, 4 mile an hour winds. So not a lot of huge news in the weather this week, but again, things are going to start to change. I'm sure we're going to get a snowy game at some point, and that'll make the weather report all the while more worth it. All right, we got a couple of things that have happened since show on Friday, so let's do a quick stop at the news. So, OBJ is Nostradamus, apparently, signing with the Rams. And on the same day, Robert Woods tears his ACL. Wow. Craziness. So, thoughts on that, impact on what do you think that does for OBJ and for the Rams offense in general, Nick?
Wow, that's again, that's a weird situation there. And you know who's kicking himself probably right about now? Deshaun Jackson. He's probably kicking himself so hard. I'm telling you, he had the perfect. I mean, you never want your teammate to get hurt, but at the same time, if you would have waited maybe a week or so, but yeah, it's gonna impact OBJ. It's gonna impact Van Jefferson owners a lot. I in fact dropped him a few days ago as soon as OBJ signed, and then when Robert Woods went down, I picked him up. So it's gonna. I don't think this week. I don't know how much OBJ is going to be able to digest the playbook. I think they're gonna look. Let's just sandlot it, dude. You just go do a go route. You do a 7-yard slant, and let's see what happens. Jefferson's gonna get a lot of work this week. I'm gonna project, and ironically, I had chosen to sit Tyler Higbee, but I think I'm gonna be wrong because I think they're gonna use Higbee because he knows the playbook. So that's gonna be egg on my face, but it's going to be a big day. It's going to be interesting to see how the offense rolls. And just, this is just a funny note. I periodically bring up how much ticket prices cost. And I was shocked to see how much the ticket price was going for, as low as how much it was going for in San Francisco, actually Santa Clara, $38. I don't know what you can do in San Francisco for $38 to have a good time, because I've been there and it costs you $15 for a Coke. So, I mean, it's expensive as all get out there. So if you have $38, go to the game. Have a good time. I'll suck up the ticket price for $38. But yeah, on the fantasy relevancy, how much, given the fact that he's only been there for 3 days or so, how much is OBJ going to get work? I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 points. Maybe if he catches, if they say, hey, just go run to the 10-yard line and then turn around. It's going to be a sandlot game. So I don't know how much work he's going to be. Next week will be great. This week, it's kind of roll the dice.
So the only thing, we talked about this in the group chat prior, and the only thing I will say and the only point I'll make is that OBJ left Cleveland, basically was out in Cleveland because he wouldn't run the route he was given. So I don't think it really matters if he knows the playbook. Stafford can just be like, yo, bro, go over there, feel the coverage, and just I'll be over there if you're over there. So I think
I did hear that.
So I think OBJ might be all right in this first game, but we'll check it out. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. One other quick note in the news: Ben Roethlisberger. This was kind of breaking. He is out all of a sudden with COVID. So we have no Ben Roethlisberger this game. We're going to talk about this game in a minute, but fantasy impact on this game, Nick, and we're going to break it down in a minute. But what do you want to just comment real quick on it?
Well, the line was 48. I didn't see what the new line was, but it's probably going to drop to about 35. You got Mason Rudolph back there. Mason, I don't know how the hell I still have a job, Rudolph. It's going to be Najee Harris all day. It's going to be Najee Harris running, check down, short yardage. Look for Freiermuth because, again, when Mason Rudolph was in there, he did not impress. I don't know how he still got a job with Pittsburgh, but they stuck with him. Like I said, Pittsburgh is loyal to a fault. It's gonna impact the passing game big time. It's not going to affect the defense. I think Pittsburgh's just going to go out there and on defensively ball out, but it's not going to be a high-scoring game. I'm looking for maybe 14-10, 17-10 at best. Nothing too spectacular. It may be the snore of the week.
We're gonna break down the games in a minute. I just want to hear what your thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger was, and let's get on. Speaking of that, though, because I know you're ready, got the coffee ready. Let's get to it. Let's start breaking down these games today.
Don't stop, get it. Don't stop, get it. That pussy.
All righty. Good for the morning audience. Let's
a little
get
early for that.
Let's get it started with the 5-4 Cleveland Browns visiting the 5-4 New England Patriots. The Patriots are favored in this game by 2.5, believe it or not. So interesting. The game itself is interesting. You know, look at Bill Belichick. You know how he likes to take out the number one threat. So what is that in Cleveland's offense? It's the running game, no matter who's back there. I mean, it doesn't seem – we've talked about their line before. It doesn't seem to matter who's behind the line. They get yards because they open the holes up for them. So, again, interesting concept. Will he shut down that and allow say, hey, Baker, try to beat me with your arm? If we'll see how that goes. The Patriots are number 3, though, against fantasy quarterbacks. So interesting to see, though, lockdown Baker. They're number 15 against the running backs and 17 versus the receivers. Cleveland is number 27th versus quarterbacks. So could it be a big Mac Jones day? Number 10 versus RBs. 13 against the tight ends and 21 versus the receivers. Nick, what you think about this matchup?
It's going to be a ground and pound game. The over-under is 45, so Vegas isn't expecting a whole lot of scoring going on. Baker's Baker. You know if he's having a good game, you know he can't hold it together until the last 2 minutes. He'll always throw a stupid pick at the end of the game. So even if it's close, it's not going to do well. I expect a big game for Johnson in the backfield, covering for Chubb and for Hunt. Mac Jones is going to be Mac Jones. What's it going to give you 225 and a touchdown? It's not going to be much. He's a glorified game manager, and Belichick will do what he needs to do to win the game, which is probably going to be here, Mac, just hand off to the running backs and then let the defense win it for you.
Yeah, so like I said, you would think Bill Belichick would say, okay, well, we're going to shut you down, Cleveland. We're going to shut your running game down. And Baker Mayfield, please beat us if you can with Jarvis Landry and Mr. Peoples-Jones out. And, so I'm really interested to see how this matchup goes. I'm with you, though. I like the Ernest Johnson today. He is basically the only guy. So, I mean, if he's the only guy, you definitely put him in your lineup. I don't care what they do. If he's the only guy out there, he's going to get the dump off screen passes. He's going to get the runs. He's going to get the goal line. He's going to get it all. So he's definitely the guy to start today. And yes, Nick.
Also, don't forget, too, you say, well, what are the tight ends? Don't forget, New England is number 1 against the tight ends. They allow, 8 points to tight ends? It's going to be a ground and pound game all day long.
For sure. This is old school, like you said, defense, ground and pound. You mentioned it. To me, this looks like a low-scoring game. Not a lot of fantasy relevance in here other than Ernest Johnson. I'll be interested to see what Jarvis Landry does this game, too. Now, he's basically their number 1 guy there. So, I'd be interested to see how he plays as well. So, we'll see. Bill Belichick, I know from watching the Dolphins, too, doesn't know how to shut down Jarvis Landry. So, again, interesting to see this matchup. All right, let's go on to our next one. We got the 5-3 Saints at the Tennessee Titans, who are 7-2. The Titans are favored by 3, interesting enough. This one's interesting to me because of all the injuries that have happened, to both teams. I mean, and look at their records. I mean, so interesting game to say the least. Are both hobbled going to this game. You could say basically their biggest pieces of the offense on both teams have now gone away, sadly. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform in this particular matchup. Number 7th versus quarterbacks are the Saints, and number 3 versus running backs. Number 21 versus receivers. So very stout Saints D going against the Titans D. That's 28 versus quarterbacks, number 9 versus running backs, and 32 against receivers. So interesting to say. Who do you got here in this matchup, Nick? Who do you like as far as a standout or a sleeper?
Not much, I'll tell you that right now. No, I mean I'm being honest, because if it was a regular game and Henry was in there, I'd say play Henry. But you got Tannehill, he's thrown for 11 TDs and 8 picks. I mean, and then you got Simeon. I mean, there's really not going to be a whole lot of offense. It's going to be a defensive game. It's going to be A.J. Brown, double coverage all day. You might see McNichols buff the run. They're going to have to lean. You're going to tell me that they're going to lean on Adrian Peterson to pull this game up?
No.
Come on. Really?
No.
It's, again, the game is projected to be 44 points. Tennessee -3, 62% win. It's not going to be a big fantasy game. If you have a defense, if you hope that New Orleans just runs the ball, you'll be okay. But defensively, they're not good at all. They're 32 against the pass. Again, this is another one. If you have to play a Saint or a Titan, play A.J. Brown, and the rest just put on your bench.
Yeah, you're so far in both these matchups that we've covered so far, it really looks like the defenses are what you want to start, and really both of them. So, again, I'd be, you're right, A.J. Brown, maybe McNichols over there on that side. I wouldn't start Tannehill. Trevor Simeon, maybe you can flex Mark Ingram in this game, maybe. But, again, Tennessee's number 9 against running backs. So, I don't really know. Not that really great all the way around. All right, let's get to some stars we can talk about. Here's something we can talk about here. 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against FT 2-6. The spread is Tampa Bay by 9.5. We just talked about it a minute ago with the injuries of the receivers, but you know what? It doesn't matter. This Washington secondary is straight garbage. They are dead last in the league against fantasy quarterbacks and number 28 against fantasy receivers. So you got to like Tom Brady in this matchup. Got to like, obviously, Mike Evans. If Chris Godwin goes, we've already talked about that. That's definite go. And somebody else that we haven't talked about that could play a big role in this game is Leonard Fournette. Like him in this matchup as well. They might end up pounding it, getting up early, so you could see some big points from Fournette in this one. On the FT side, you got to start Terry McLaurin every week. He's just still the guy you got to go. You got to put him in your lineup. The Tampa Bay Bucks, their defense is always their strength is against the run. So they are a little weak sometimes in the secondary. So you could see Terry McLaurin get a few, but other than that, not much on that side for me. Nick, what do you think? Anybody you got in this one?
Well, we covered Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is gonna roll. They got the over under 51. They got a 78% chance to win the game. The two players, actually three, I want to discuss. The big name that's being thrown out there as far as Tampa Bay is Tyler Johnson. He's their third string wide receiver. You might want to throw him in there for a sleeper. And on Washington, I definitely sit Antonio Gibson. I have Gibson. I cannot play him because I'm expecting at least a 9 spot if I'm lucky. So with being that I feel that they're going to be throwing a lot, I think you might want to start J.D. McKissick because he's going to be the receiver out of the backfield. I don't know how much Patterson is going to get because he was splitting time with Gibson. Gibson's role has really dropped because he won't sit. The main thing for that shin is to sit and rest it. He just won't do it, and they keep rolling him out there. And maybe Ricky Seals-Jones. Ricky Seals-Jones may have a big game because, again, Tampa, you can throw on them, and they're going to roll, and it's going to be a negative game script, and they're just going to have to throw on them. So anybody else in this game, at least on Washington side, I would just throw out. I would sit Gibson. I start your McLaurin. I start McKissick, and I start Ricky Seals-Jones if you need a tight end. Other than that, good luck, Washington. You're going to need it.
I believe Logan Thomas is back as well, though. So I'm not
Is
sure.
he back now? Okay.
Yeah. So that's what you meant to say is that's who you want to start, Logan Thomas, in this matchup. All right, next matchup, Bills at the Jets. Nothing real exciting here. 5-3 Bills. Although what is exciting is the Mike White-led Bills as he's back this week. So this is going to be interesting to see how he comes out and plays against the – listen, I was looking up all his stats, and I'm like, wow. The Bills are the number one against fantasy quarterbacks, against fantasy running backs, and fantasy receivers. I mean, we can just go on and on. This Bills defense is nasty. 12 points there. The spread is. I totally believe it. Jets D is 13th, interesting enough, against fantasy quarterbacks, though. So that's a little interesting tell. And number 5 against receivers, but they're dead last against running backs. So what does that tell me? Teams are getting up on them quick and then just running the ball out. So that's what I'm getting out of all that. So must starts on the Bills side all day. There's some, I don't even know if you'd even risk anybody on the Jets side. Maybe more in the flex, maybe Carter, maybe. Other than that, I'm not really sure where you go. Nick, your thoughts on that? Anyone you like?
Well, again, this is going to be a game where you expect to see Buffalo win. They have ESPN is right now projecting them to have an 83% win. So again, but last week they were supposed to steamroll Jacksonville and they fell on their face. I think this week is going to be a get back game for them. I don't think they're going to fall, not nearly. I think they're going to win the game, but as far as fantasy wise, again, you can start any build that you want. Ironically, before Moss was cleared, I said to start Devin Singletary. I could be proven wrong this week because Moss is back. But on the Jet side, the only streamable player is Michael Carter. I don't think Mike White is going to have the game he did against Cincinnati. They got film on him. They know right now he's checked down Charlie. And yet he caught lightning in a bottle. But if I'm wrong this week and Mike White balls out, good luck to him. Egg on my face. But you can start any bill you want pretty much in this game.
Yeah, pretty much indeed. All right, let's get on to a good one. I think this is going to be a good fantasy game because of the defenses are not that great. The Falcons 4-4 at the 2-2 Cowboys. The spread is the Dallas Cowboys at 9.5. So again, both of these defenses, not all that great. The Falcons 23 against fantasy quarterbacks, number 22 against fantasy running backs. And on the Cowboy side, 19th versus quarterbacks, 6 versus running backs. So, but that's the tell there is I wouldn't, you'd be like, well, do you sit Cordell Patterson? No, because I think I gave that advice like a week or two ago, thinking, I forgot who they played, but it was somebody tough and, had a tough run D. Like, well, they're going to shut their running game down. But here comes Cordell Patterson.
I think that was New Orleans, wasn't it?
Yeah, and here comes Cordell Patterson down the sideline catching bombs and all that. So it was interesting to see that no matter what, he was still scoring big points. So I will never suggest sitting Cordell Patterson again. All right, who do you like in this matchup, Nick, in this game?
Well, I like the offensive players from Atlanta because Dallas is giving up 30 points a game.
Right.
So you can roll out your Matt Ryan this week. You can roll out your Pitts, and you can roll out your Cordell Patterson. I wouldn't play any Atlanta wide receiver because you don't know which one's going to show up. Russell Gage was supposed to take the mantle over for Ridley. Didn't happen. Olamide Zacchaeus came up, 2 touchdowns. It happened. He may not show up this week. So there's only 3 viable players to start for Atlanta. Is Ryan and Patterson and Pitts. On anybody's good to go. You can start Dak. You're going to start Elliott. You're going to start Lamb. The wild card, honestly, is Amari Cooper. Is he going to show up? Is he going to drop a pass? But you could probably play both of them. I mean, you don't know. And then Dalton Schultz. I'm not sure if Michael Gallup is back this week, but I actually read a report today that they're going to release. They may think about releasing Blake Jarwin because Schultz took over that role. So, again, this is going to be an offensive blitz. Don't start either defense. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Not that you would anyway. But, again, those players that I mentioned, full go today.
You know, it's interesting you said that. I actually wouldn't, I wouldn't shy away from starting the Cowboys D only because of how turnover prone Atlanta gets sometimes. When Matt Ryan gets in his little funks, he has some funky days, and the Cowboys have been very opportunistic fantasy wise. We've talked about that many times. They still give up a lot, but they make plays happen. So that could offset your points there too. But interesting to see nonetheless. All right, let's go on to the 2-6 Jaguars visiting the 4-5 Colts. The spread is 10.5 points, obviously, for the Colts. Interesting matchup here. Not really. I think the Colts pretty much are on this roll right now. I think they're going to remain hot. I like them big over the Jags this week. But some interesting notes in this matchup. The Colts are number 5 against running backs, and you got the hobbled Robinson. Robinson owners, do you want to put him in your lineup? If you've found other options, you might want to think about him. Not really sure how much Robinson is going to play a factor in this game. And then the Colts, they're 29 against fantasy quarterback. So could this be a big Trevor Lawrence day? Although he's coming in hobbled into this game as well a little bit. Again, I think Ryan brought up last night that the Jags run defense is sneaky good, 11 versus fantasy running backs. So let's see what kind of day Jonathan Taylor's in store for. And he talked about liking Carson Wentz because of that. All right, what's your thoughts on this game, Nick?
Well, I think I've talked about Carson Wentz ad nauseum. I think everyone's got their bucket ready. I want to talk about Marvin Jones. I think Marvin Jones is going to have a big game. I actually picked him up on my team, and I actually inserted him in my lineup due to the fact that Indianapolis is not that good on offense. So he might have a sneaky good game. I mean, right now he's got 400 yards and then 3 TDs. Indy is not that good on defense. And again, Trevor Lawrence may have a big game. So I'm going to bank on Marvin Jones having a big game. And of course, you got Michael Pittman on the other side of the ball. So it's going to be an aerial assault on both sides of the ball. Not much running. But then again, I say that and then watch Jonathan Taylor's got a 200-yard game. But I would say it's going to be more air and less ground.
I actually disagree. I disagree with Ryan last night too. I think they are going to run a little more. I just see game strips going to dictate that they are going to get up on this Jags team and just start pounding the football. I mean, that's just the way it looks for me. But who knows? We'll see. You know how the game scripts go. All right, let's go to this next huge matchup here. The 0-8 Lions go to the 5-3 Steelers. The spread is the Steelers by 9. I'll just make this real quick. I would not start any Lions. Maybe Swift I'd put in there. We talked about Ben Roethlisberger being out this game, and you mentioned Najee Harris being a big play. Well, the Lions are 31st against fantasy running backs, so you, sir, are right on the money. Your thoughts on this game?
Excuse me. I would only start three players on this in this game. Actually, all right, I'll be nice. I'll go 5. I would start Swift. I start Hawkinson because that's all the offense that they have. As far as Pittsburgh, the only players I would start on Pittsburgh would be Najee Harris, the defense, and Chris Boswell. That's it. As far as, because I don't trust Mason Rudolph. If you're a Steelers fan and you saw him play, it's less than good. I'm telling you, it's less than good. The only thing he's really famous for is getting hit on the head by Myles Garrett's helmet. He's not good. I don't think he can move the offense, but I do trust Matt Canada. They're gonna. I believe that they're gonna win the game. They got a 74% chance to win the game. But as far as stat wise, it's going to be offensive ugly. And if you have to in a pinch, just start those players that I mentioned. Start the Steelers defense. I don't see, especially outside, Detroit playing well at all. So start Pittsburgh defense.
Indeed. All right, so I got Pittsburgh. It's definitely Pittsburgh's defense for sure. We got Pittsburgh's D themselves. They're number 2 versus fantasy running backs, number 8 versus quarterbacks, and 16 versus receivers. So not much on the Lions side I'd be looking for at all. Let's go on to a decent. This one, this is just a good game, I think. The Vikings going against the LA Chargers. 3-5, which, I don't think their record really indicates the team they are. I think they're a little better than 3-5. Chargers 5-3. The spread is for the Chargers by 3. Interesting matchup here. And again, Chargers number 2 against fantasy quarterbacks. So Kirk Cousins not going to like that. And 27th versus running back. So Dalvin Cook, however, might be liking that a lot. And they are interesting number 2 actually as well versus fantasy receivers. On the other side, the Vikings D has been kind of up and down. Pretty decent against the run, but pretty bad against the pass. So could be a good Herbert Allen or Mike Williams day. Thoughts on this matchup, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not liking Kirk Cousins right now. The last 2 games, he hasn't reached 200 yards passing. He's only thrown 3 TDs in the past 2 games. I am liking Dalvin Cook in this game against the Chargers. Philly had a pretty decent game against them on the ground. I would say if you're going to start a receiver on Minnesota, I think it would be Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to have a big day. And as far as on LA Chargers, I would go with Allen. And I think Jared Cook might have a sneaky good game this week because, as I recall, I do not think that Minnesota is too well against tight ends. So I would go Cook and I would go Allen. And Mike Williams, I think he's going to continue to slide a little bit. I don't know what's going on with him in that offense, but he's not having a connection with Herbert right now, and Allen is on the rise.
Yeah, Vikings 26 against the tight end, so you'd be spot on.
Start Jared Cook, correct.
Yeah, so definitely might be a good sneaky play for Jared Cook. Good call indeed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we got a few more games to go over. We'll get you started for your Sunday morning lineup. We'll be right back. I'm stuttering because I'm trying to stall for time because I'm trying to find the button.
Welcome to the island. Island Peppa Skincare Products. Love your skin your way. Stop by today at islandpeppaskincare.com to look at our variety of products for both men and women. Because in the islands, the peppa is always black.
Kind of like Nick's coffee, always black. All right, let's go on to the next matchup. The 4-5 Panthers facing the 8-1 Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are favored by 10.5 for this matchup. But again, we talked about the availability of Kyler Murray. Will he, won't he go? So that makes a big difference in this game, whether you're going to see a huge fantasy output or just one of those defensive matchups that we first started with. So it's kind of up in the air, to be quite frank. Both defenses are really good. The only chink in the armor in both of these defenses is that Arizona is 22 against fantasy receivers. So interesting note, to say the least. Anyone you like big in this game, Nick, on either side?
I would like James Conner and Zach Ertz on this game on Arizona's side. I expect Colt McCoy to play. I did look at their record. Arizona is 8-1, and I thought they had a bigger cushion in their division, but it turns out that the Rams are 7-2. So I don't know. Again, do they want to risk further injuring Kyler Murray this week? Because what's going to happen down the road? So Colt McCoy gave them a good showing. D-Hop is still injured. Do they just say, all right, look, let's see what we get with this game. It's against Carolina. They're not that good. They're coming into our building.
With PJ Walker at the helm.
Right. We can win this game. We don't need Kyler Murray and D-Hop. So I would say temper expectations. It's going to be a run-heavy game. And I would say go big on Connor because, like I said, he's already got 10 touchdowns this season. I don't think he's going to stop because Carolina's coming in. So and of course, Ertz being there and the safety blanket, and then you got AJ Green coming back. So it might be a big AJ Green game. I wouldn't start too many Panthers this week because again, PJ Walker and DJ Moore. I'm not sold on that. So I would go heavy on James Conner and Zach Ertz.
I have Christian McCaffrey as a flex RB2 on the Panther side. As far as other than that, I also have the same pretty much for DJ Moore. But other than that, that's about it. And I don't even I pretty much have DJ Moore as a flex. And maybe a wide receiver 3. Other than that, not too much going on there. And I do like Christian Kirk, no matter if Colt McCoy seemed to like him no matter what. So I like him in this matchup. Also, we forgot to mention during the Steelers game, since COVID is out, Ryan did put in the Steel Panther shocker of the Lions beating your Steelers. And now that Ben Roethlisberger's out, it's definitely a little more possible. So we just want to note that. All right, let's go on to the next game. This one, again, if the weather permits, could be very interesting, good for fantasy. We got the Seahawks 3-5 with Russell Wilson back against the 7-2 Packers, who have Aaron Rodgers back. So Packers are favored by 3.5 in this game. Again, if weather permitting, this should be a good matchup. Fantasy-wise, you should see some good points. Defenses are kind of middle of the road. The Seahawks are 27th against fantasy running backs. So interesting play for Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon this week. Also 18th, the Packers are 18th versus the run. So you might see a little bit of Alec Collins in this game. And the Seahawks are 18th versus fantasy receivers. So good news for Devontae Adams and whomever else shows up for the Packers. All right, who do you like in this matchup, Nick? Anyone that stands out to you?
Other than the regulars, no, because I want to see the most interesting thing I want to see is how well, as Mr. Safe Pick himself said, can Russell Wilson grip the ball with that middle finger? How effective is it going to be with the pass? Because if he is, Lockett's going to be very, very good. Now, again, the weather's going to call it.
Oh.
And no, I had something came up on my screen. I thought that got dropped. So no,
it was like you got scared. I was like, what happened?
I have no idea. So anyway, it should be an interesting game. I think Wilson's going to come back. I don't think he's going to have a spectacular game. I think he might get maybe 220 and two TDs and a pick. The over-under has now moved to 49.5. So I think it's with the weather, it's going to be a run-heavy game. And I'm going to look for Collins and for Jones to have a big game. And even Dillon. Watch out for Dillon. He's been stealing some of the carries, especially, like you said, Captain Thunder Thighs. When it gets cold, they're gonna lean on him. So I would look at those, and you got your regulars. They know what they're doing. They're gonna go out. They're gonna get theirs. So I don't see anything really spectacular or erroneous coming out of them.
All right, going on to another matchup here. We got the 3-6 Eagles going against the 5-4 Broncos. So this should, again, we mentioned like a heat wave in Denver, 67 degrees. So this is like a nice game. Denver's favored by 2.5 in this matchup. The Eagles D has been a little all over the place. So, 21st against fantasy quarterbacks. So it could be a decent day for Teddy Bridgewater. 29th versus fantasy running back. So good Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams day possibly. And on the other side, the Denver D's been rock solid. Number 4 against fantasy quarterbacks. Number 13th against fantasy running backs. However, interesting note, they are 20th versus fantasy receivers. Maybe Devonta Smith finds one deep. I think even Ryan alluded to that earlier. What's your thoughts on that, Nick? On this matchup, excuse me.
I would say from any Eagle except for Jordan Howard. Now, the reason why I say that is because in the past few games, they've turned Jalen Hurts into a game manager where he's just handing off the ball most of the time. He's not getting a lot of his design runs like he used to. Teddy Bridgewater, like you said, if I'm not incorrect. And it's going to be a big game for Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams because Philly, they just can't stop the run. They can't stop the run. It's going to be pass all day. Big game for Jerry Jeudy. So I'm going to say the only Eagle that you start is Jordan Howard. And the offensive players you're going to start is going to be Bridgewater and Jeudy and the 2 running backs and Denver defense.
Jordan Howard's looked real strong as of late, my friend. So you called it right before he even came out, and man, we were watching the game, and I was like, wow, Nick really did call it. They really did turn to him. It surprised me because I seen him in Miami, and he wasn't much of anything. So it really surprised me them turning to him, and he's really taking the carries and taking the load on. So interesting to see.
Also, it just speaks to the fact that they believe in him because they just signed him to the 50-man. The 53-man right that they thought they had, and like you said, you feel that he's more of a receiver. So we'll see. Again, he's got fresh legs, so they're going to carry it until Sanders comes back.
Yeah, and we talked about Kenneth Gainwell. What are they doing with him at this point? So interesting to say. All right, let's go to the next one. The Sunday nighter, the Chiefs. 5-4 at the Las Vegas Raiders, 5-3. So listen, even back in the day in the 90s and 80s, these are always big, high-scoring games. I always love the KC AFC West matchups. Raiders are favored KC is favored by 2.5 in this game. Not much to say for the defenses. KC's D is 31st against fantasy quarterbacks. So David Carr could have a huge game in this one. And, again, all the way around, this should be a high-scoring game, I think, nonetheless. Could be a big volume for both teams. Nick, what's your thoughts on this matchup?
Don't play their defenses. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Pat Mahomes is funny. He's got 20 TDs, 10 picks, but he's not the Pat Mahomes that we're used to seeing. I would even venture to say, maybe, call me crazy, you might want to even bench him this week. He's not playing with that same, what's the word I'm looking for? Chutzpah as he used to be. Because last year he used to just go out there and just sling it. This year, past couple of games, he's only hit 397 yards. Well, he's only hit 400 yards once, which no one ever does. But last game, 166. The game before that, 275, 206, 272. So he's not – that offense is just not clicking, and he's not connecting with Kelsey, and he's not connecting with Hill. So I might even venture to sit him, and I would start Derek Carr instead.
Yeah, well, if you have that option, I think I do like Carr over Mahomes in this game. It's interesting that you say that, but I don't know if. Oh shit!
We're back. We're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. So I see Mahomes, like you said, he's he's kind of forcing the magic this year.
Mhm.
It's not like free flowing where he's doing that little behind the backs and all that stuff, because he's forcing it now. Like people are expecting it, and it's not translating well on the field for him. So, but I do like him in this game. I think both teams will go back and forth a little bit. I think it'll be good to start anybody in this matchup, to be quite frank. Again, let's see what comes with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. That's been an interesting side note in the offensive game with the Raiders. They've been kind of back and forth, and Kenyon Drake's been going well. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. One more real quick thing. He had Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry. He hasn't gone over 100 yards since before the October 10th game, which was Buffalo.
Wow.
So he's not connecting with him at all. The last was 6 games from October 10th to last week: 63, 76, 49, 94, and 37.
Wow.
So again, it's not working. He, like you said, he's forcing the ball in there. There's something wrong with that offense. And I think he thinks he's got to win the game on every throw, because I don't think he trusts the defense. I think the defense is really killing him. So I would sit Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, he wouldn't be wrong.
If you have the opportunity.
He wouldn't be wrong to think that. That's definitely for sure. Because that defense definitely has not shown up all year. All right, real quick, we'll talk about Monday night real quick, and we got to kind of get out of here shortly. We got the 7-2 Rams going to San Francisco, the aforementioned most expensive city in the country. 49ers at 3-5. The Rams, again, defensively are starting to step up a little bit more. They've been, again, everyone came into the season like, wow, the Rams D, they're so great. And they actually weren't that great as the season started, but now they're starting to click a little bit more. And actually now with Von Miller in the mix, could really see some big things with him defensively. San Francisco side, the drill. San Francisco's kind of up and down. I'm surprised they're 3-5. To be honest, I thought they'd be, maybe win one game this year. I was surprised everyone was so hot on them. Just didn't see it, and we're starting to see that happen now. Rams D, number 12 versus quarterbacks. Number 17th, however, versus running backs. So could be a good Eli Mitchell game. We know how 49ers like to rely on the running game. And at 12 versus receivers, but I still like Deebo Samuel in this matchup. Deebo Samuel has been money all season long, so I do still like him. On the 49ers side, 24th against QBs. Obviously, you want to have Matt Stafford, though, start in this matchup no matter what. 14th versus a run. So, again, Henderson, decent game. They are number 7 versus fantasy wide receivers. So that's an interesting note to see. Again, you mentioned it earlier, Tyler Higbee could end up making it out for that as you put him in your sit him this week. All right, what's your thoughts on the Monday Nighter?
Wow, you were all over that. I don't think there's anything else for me to cover. Over-under's 49, Rams by 3.5. That's a spread. Darrell Henderson. I think Darrell Henderson is going to have a big game. That 49ers defense isn't like last year. It's nowhere near as good after Saleh left, and you thought that he'd take that to the Jets, but that hasn't panned out. And of course, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's going to be all day. Garoppolo's playing for his life right now. He's playing for his job. So he may have a sneaky good game. Like against Chicago, did he have 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns? So again, the guys you mentioned, I think are going to have a big game. Van Jefferson, plug him in if you have the opportunity. Plug in Van Jefferson. He's going to have a good game with the absence of Robert Woods, so he's got to take over that role. And like I said, I think they're going to throw. Okay, Odell, run a slant. Run this, and then if you're open, I'll get it to you.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be interesting to see. All eyes will be on this game because we'll be definitely interested to see how well Odell plays and how much they use him. So again, I'm really interested to see that. Also, don't forget who's been stepping up lately, Brandon Ayuk. Let's see how he plays this game. Does he continue stepping up? Because he was nowhere existing all season. He's starting to step up a little bit now. So who knows? We shall see. All right. We appreciate you guys waking up with us. Don't forget, After us, you got the Bears pregame show with Coach Steve. After that, 4th and 4, that's from 10 to 11. 11 to 12 is the Rough Cut with AJ and Vinny. And 12 to 1, it is Dan Maynard's Fantasy Football. He'll get you with your last-minute, up-to-date information. Dan's got you covered. From us to you, we appreciate you. Enjoy your Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. It should be a good one. A lot of good games ahead. And we are out.
Good luck to everybody today.